Hi church, our third culture word is generosity. One of the many things I love about our church is this culture of generosity. I have had the weighty responsibility and privilege of overseeing the church's finances for the last 12 to 13 years. And I can honestly say that there is a culture of generosity here. I've also had the privilege of just being a part of Citygate Church for 20 years. And in that time, I have been the benefactor of so much hospitality, so many people's time in supporting me in my many life struggles. And I've had the privilege of serving on a number of teams, and I've witnessed what true servant-heartedness is, where there seems to be no other agenda other than to give of oneself, not expecting anything in return. It seems that this generosity, whether of time, talents, or treasure, is for a greater transcendent purpose, not for earthly reward. Now, I'm not saying that our church is made up of perfectly generous people, but I am saying that I have seen a glimpse of heaven here, a glimpse of Jesus' teaching and encouragement about generosity. If you're looking in, or maybe you haven't been around for very long, you may wonder, why is generosity such a high value in this church? You may think, well, there we go, another church after my money. And though it's true that money plays a significant role in a church being able to function and sustain its ministries, and it's also unfortunately very true that there have been tragic situations that we see globally where corrupt leaders have used people's generosity for ill-gotten gain and greed, which has had devastating effects. Nevertheless, the real reason why we have a high value of generosity is a biblical reason. Jesus spoke about time, talents, and treasures a lot. Jesus talked about money in relation to two important aspects, heaven and heart. Jesus said something incredibly profound. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moths and vermin do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And that's from Matthew 6, verse 19. You see, our heart's condition it's Jesus' priority. The heart is a desire factory, and he knows that money can quite easily be set up as a god in our own hearts. Jesus said in another part of the Bible, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, money is either your master and you serve it, or he, Jesus, is your master and your money serves his kingdom purposes. Jesus knew that none of us can enthrone the true God if we don't at the same time and in the same process dethrone other gods. If Christ is not Lord over our money and possessions, our time, our talents, and our treasures, then he is not our Lord. Where is your heart? Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. What we do with our possessions is a sure indicator of what's in our hearts. Jesus is saying, show me your banking app, show me your credit card statement, show me your diary, and I'll show you where your heart is. What we do with our time and talents and treasures, they don't lie. It's a bold statement to God of what we truly value. Generosity says, I trust you, God, as my provider, not these earthly things. The very act of generosity moves us towards our ultimate treasure, who is Jesus. So generosity is about our hearts, but it is also a reminder of our true home, heaven. In this passage, Jesus is saying, your earthly home is so temporary. Your earthly possessions, your time is fleeting, it will disappear. But your real home is eternal, and how you invest on earth will determine your rewards in eternity. On earth, we are just the king's asset managers, and how we manage those assets will determine the eternal rewards we get in heaven. Staggering. Why do we value generosity in our church culture? It's because it affects our hearts and it affects our eternal home, heaven. Living in this way it's a megaphone to a world enslaved in greed and self-interest. and it is a glimpse of heaven, and we haven't really even talked about the impact that your time and talents and treasures can have on God's kingdom extension here on earth, and the eternal significance of your generosity. So what does a culture of generosity look like? It looks like there are no needy people among you, because we step in when someone is in need. But it also looks like a church feeding the community that it's in, providing relief and restoration and social reform. It's the church being the beacon of hope, not only in what it says, but in what it does with its time, its talents, and its treasures. One day, we will enter heaven, and we will see people that we not only had a direct impact on as being Jesus' hands and feet, but those that our time, talents, and treasures caused them to come to know Jesus. And that is the reward worth investing in.